podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi, and welcome to 49 Unbeaten, the official ArsenalVavel podcast. And we're back here with an England chat today, and we're going to be obviously previewing the big one tonight. This one's going to be going out 2 hours before kickoff. So hopefully around 6 o'clock right now, you're listening, maybe getting a few pre-match beers in, getting ready to watch the game tonight. Obviously, we're an Arsenal channel. We're going to kick things off. We're going to talk a little bit of transfers, a little bit of speculation, and then move on to previewing the game. But yeah, I've got my main guys with me today. I've got Ben and Jack. How are you doing, lads? You good?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good to have you both back on again. I know it's been a while. We're going to start off talking about Arsenal's midfield, and we've had some talk about potentially Locatelli rejecting Arsenal. I know he was an option for us to have in the midfield, but there's been some rumours about maybe a Basuma, or I know Arsenal are admirers of Renato Sanchez. But Jack, for you, what players would you like to see in that midfield role, replacing the outgoing, what looks like the outgoing Granit Xhaka?
Well, Locatelli would be a perfect replacement, but he's been amazing this Euro 2020 tournament. But if he's rejected, that's it's understandable. But who I'd like to see to come in to replace Xhaka. Well, Renato Sanchez, he's another, as you mentioned there, who I think would fit in nicely. He's got physical ability, doesn't he? As well as we've always needed that sort of to be comfortable in the midfield, and I think Renato Sanchez and even Basuma would bring that to the Arsenal to the squad. But the way things are going, I think we'll only find out for sure after the Euros. At the moment, it's just speculation, names flying everywhere. But if we can bring any of those names in, it would definitely shore up a midfield and, be, a decent replacement for the ongoing Granit Xhaka.
Ben, with those midfield options, obviously you talk about Basuma, and he's been at Brighton for the last couple of years. He's obviously Premier League proven, and we've seen this season how good he is. Would you rather have that Premier League proven player over the likes of a Renato Sanchez, who we know has been hyped up before and flopped to Swansea and Bayern Munich, but now looking to go on again? Do you think that Premier League proven factor is an important one?
I think in the short term, yeah. I think if you're looking at a team that's going to do well before Christmas, you've got to look at bringing in proven players who don't need to get up to speed with the league. I mean, Pepe's 2 seasons in and is only just really getting up to speed with the Premier League. So, you've got to take those things into consideration. With Renato Sanchez, I'm not as sold as a lot of Arsenal fans, mainly because of his injury record. And we know every player, when he comes to Arsenal, their injury record gets worse. So I wouldn't want to touch that one with a barge pole. As for Locatelli, I do think that we don't need a replacement for Granit Xhaka, in the sense of we don't need all the things that Granit Xhaka brings to the table, because I think Ben White from centre-back will do a lot of the work that Xhaka's doing in terms of ball progression and bringing the ball out and, finding passes. So I think a Basuma type next to Partey would be absolutely fantastic. I think he's probably my number one target and has been for most of the summer.
Okay, and obviously moving on from midfield, there's been a little bit of talk. Obviously, it's not been completely proven yet, but Houssem Aouar, there's been talk that Arsenal have made an offer in the region of 20 to 25 million, which is close to apparently what Lyon would accept, which is a lot less, by the way, compared to last summer when they were asking 60 million for him. So, Jack, would you take that Houssem Aouar for 20, 25 million over a 60 million Maddison, for example? Or do you think that I don't know, Houssem Aouar, do you think that boat sailed? Do you think he's not quite the type for Arsenal?
I think it's similar to what Ben said about obviously being Premier League proven, and the likes of Pepe taking a couple of seasons to get the ground running. But I think 25 million for Aouar, I think
sounds like a bargain, doesn't it?
Bargain. It is a bargain, and for a player of his quality as well. He has proven his worth.
Yeah.
And that he's worth the likes of 60 million or 40 million, where what they were asking the previous season. If we can get him for that sort of money this season,
yeah,
I think it is a no-brainer. But I feel like Maddison may be a safer option if we are to go. Yeah, he is proving the Premier League, but they're both, equally good players. But I think for me, I think if we can get him for 25 million, that is a bargain for a top quality player.
Ben, 25 million for Arar, you taking it?
It's a no-brainer for me if he can fix his off-the-field issues. I mean, we're looking at Smith Rowe, who has done a fraction of what Awar's done, domestically in his career. We're looking at 35 million that Villa are trying to bid for him, and we're not accepting. He's worth more than that to us. So if you're looking at someone like Awar, you can bring him in at 25 million euros. That's an absolute bargain. And I think he should be all over that, even if he only plays, 20 games next season.
Yeah, now that would be. You can just imagine the Arsenal attack with, Saka, Pepe on the wide areas, Awar in the middle, Aubameyang down the middle, option for Smith Rowe in there somewhere. It'd be looking tasty. Just another quick one on that. We're going to go look at a couple of outgoings that have happened. Earlier in the week, Ødegaard confirmed that he's not going to be returning to Arsenal. He put out a farewell message to Arsenal fans on his Instagram and social media platforms. Jack, what did you make of Ødegaard's time at Arsenal? Do you think it was what can you make of it? Really, it was only 6 months.
Yeah, very brief, wasn't it? But I mean, he still brought to the table what we need. We needed that bit of creativity.
Yeah, definitely.
We were creating goals. In terms of creating goals, we were dreadful. We were, abysmal. But when Ødegaard did come in, he had that new spark, that bit of creativity, and he did improve that Arsenal side. I have to say, he wasn't, still young, still has a lot of potential. But I'm glad with his little 6-month tenure in North London. So it was good.
I'm sure he's going to go on to be a Madrid superstar. I mean, you can tell with some players, like he's a very talented guy, and he's only 22 and he's been around on the stage since he was 16. He made his Real Madrid debut, so he's definitely going to go on to achieve a lot of things, whether that's at Real Madrid or another club. Another outgoing, Matteo Guendouzi, a transfer saga. Which, I mean, can you call it a transfer saga? It's finally looks like it's come to an end. A loan to Marseille, with some people reporting an option, some people reporting an obligation to buy. But regardless, it looks like Guendouzi will be a Marseille player for the foreseeable. Ben, is that a sad day, or do you think it had to happen?
Oh, it had to happen. His attitude stunk from the moment Arteta walked in the door. Basically, they've fallen out so many times. And obviously, like a lot of people say, it's not, it's passion and stuff, but there's that line between like passion and just sheer attitude, and the stuff you could do when Patrick Vieira and Tony Adams were around. It's completely different to the stuff you can get away with nowadays, where are moving your head a fraction towards another player is an automatic red card. So you're looking at Guendouzi and saying, do you want a man who's practically a walking red card to replace a man who was already practically a walking red card in the Arsenal midfield? And the answer is probably not. You want, the option to be able to play with 11 players every now and then.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think Guendouzi was that reckless. I don't know. He definitely had attitude problems, but I don't think he was quite a walking red card. And I don't know. He was whatever happens, I think, to be honest, the only way Matteo Guendouzi would ever get back into Arsenal's team or the squad, regardless, would be if Arteta was to leave. But it doesn't look like that's happening anytime soon. Today is the first day of Arsenal pre-season. Players that haven't been involved in the European tournaments are returning to London Colney to begin the preparation. Day one, really. I mean, we've got, it's now the countdown to Brentford away, first game of the season. Jack, obviously there's a big game tonight, but can you start to get excited for the new season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Euros I've been buzzing for, especially that we've managed to get this far as well. Yeah. But yeah, I'm already getting excited for the new season. I mean, I always do, and then that turns out to hurt me quite a lot because I get too excited. But yeah, of course, yeah. I'm really looking forward to this season. It's Arteta's second proper season in charge, isn't it?
Yes.
So we can actually hopefully we can see his sort of philosophy to sort of take place with some new signings coming in, hopefully. But definitely you should start to get excited. I think I sound like what's his name? The Cronkies. Start to get excited. Everyone.
All I was saying is be excited. Yeah. No, it's even though it's his second full season, I'm pretty sure this is his first like full pre-season I've had with the players. It's obviously COVID last year, and then he only had half a season the season before. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, and hopefully we can have some nice little additions to go to the squad. Was there anything else that you lads wanted to talk about Arsenal before we move on to England?
No, apart from Lukonga potentially coming in, I think that's effectively done.
Tavares and Lukonga look like they're going to be our first two additions. You've got Tavares, the Benfica left back, and then Lukonga, who's Anderlecht midfielder. There's been a lot of talk about Lukonga. Obviously, I can't really say that I know too much about him. I know I've seen too much about him, but he's there's a lot of talk that he's kind of the next big thing in Belgium, and Fabrizio Romano reporting that we've come to a figure of around 17 million for Lukonga, which is a fairly decent amount. I mean, obviously we can't just rely on him, but I think the idea is that Lukonga is more of a Guendouzi replacement than a Xhaka replacement. So fingers crossed we can bring in another player there as well. So we're going to move on to talk about tonight, the big one, England versus Denmark. We're just going to start off with Ben. How are you feeling, mate?
Confident, I think.
Confident, you think?
I think.
Well, your nerves start shredding no matter who you're playing. If we were in an FA Cup final against, I don't know, Luton Town, and we'd have the best season of our life, my nerves would be shredded ahead of the final. This is as close to the final as England have been in our lifetime. This is the best we've done since '96, and we've really got a good chance of making the final and playing Italy, who I think are beatable. So I think that if we can get through, I think Denmark could be a much harder game than Italy would be. I think we're much better set up to play against Italy than we are against Denmark. I don't really know what the Danes are going to do. Whereas I think with Italy, it's quite clear what they're going to try and do, because they've got some very, very talented but very limited players in the likes of Jorginho, who are going to dictate how that team plays.
What a tournament!
Whereas Denmark,
by the way.
Yeah. He's been alright, hasn't he?
And to think that, Mikel Arteta saw it before everyone else, didn't he? There was talk that before the window opened that Jorginho is one of our options, and the Arsenal fan base went into meltdown. And now look at it. It's crazy to think the tournament the Italians are having. None of us called this at the start, and fair play to them for everything they're doing. And if England do get to that final, what a game that could be, England versus Italy in the final. Jack, how are you feeling ahead of the big one tonight? Do you think that Denmark have had their moment, or do you think they're still a team to be feared?
I still think they're a team to be feared. They lost their first two games of the group stages, and you thought they were down and out, but they're in a Euro semi-final. I think they can't be underestimated, and because of that, and because they are so unpredictable, unlike where Ben said about Italy being, you sort of know how they play and you sort of know how to set up against them. But with Denmark, where they're so unpredictable and where they have been so impressive, no disrespect to Denmark, but because you wouldn't think Denmark would get to that stage. I think it's going to be tough. I mean, any semi-final is going to be tough, but I think we've just got to play with that same confidence as we did against Ukraine. And I think if we do get to the final, it will be a very tough final.
One thing that will make the moment even sweeter for us is if England can progress with a certain young Bukayo Saka within that side. I don't know if you guys have seen the memes, but Saka on the old inflatable unicorn this week. Could Could he make an appearance? Ben, you thinking that Saka? Go on.
I think he should be starting. Personally, I think that right hand side we haven't got. I mean, Jadon Sancho came on against Ukraine, starting against Ukraine, and did all right. But Saka was brilliant when he played there for a couple of games, for a game and a half rather. So I think that he's earned his right to play in that position. Now he's back from injury. I'd love to see him play there because he just plays with a fearlessness that I think we're going to need. And I think that not a lot of other England players play with, you know, at his age, to be able to do what he does on the ball and to be able to pick the passes that he picks. He plays with such a maturity and yet such a desire to keep going that I think he's made himself indispensable to that England right-hand side, which is weird to think because obviously he was one of those players that was right on the edge for a lot of people. Like, is he going to be cut from the 33? Is he going to stay? Yeah. You know, is he there to make up numbers or is he there for his versatility? But actually, he's there because he's a damn good player and he deserves to be there.
Definitely. And when you're getting ahead of Sancho and Foden, which is some players that have had some of the best seasons in Europe, then I think it's definitely saying something. Jack, Saka for you, Foden, Sancho, who are you starting on that right-hand side?
Yeah, when Saka did play, he was, you know, arguably one of our best players. You know, he was, you know, in the group stages where we didn't score as many goals as you think we would. He had that difference going forward. He had that drive and sort of fearlessness, didn't he? He wasn't. He's not scared, is he? He's got nothing to lose, really. So it's, you know, it's a big shout to Southgate if he does play Saka.
Yeah.
But I mean, what is there to lose? It said that right hand side we hasn't been that impressive. Whereas, you know, the minutes Saka did play, he was. So
sure.
It's you know, don't take risks, then you won't get the rewards. So I mean, yeah, I think why not play Saka?
I think Saka's got to start for me. I think he's got to start, but then I think we could definitely see one of Foden or Sancho in about the 60th minute maybe, because Saka does tend to burn out after. He's still only 19. You've got to take this into account. Like he has tended to burn out after about the 50, 60 minute mark. So I think maybe play Saka because I think he's been our most effective player on that right hand side. But then as soon as you get to maybe that kind of stage, look to bring on a Foden or a Sancho. Foden's not really had that many minutes since the first game as well, so he could definitely play a part in this game, I'm thinking. A question which I've kind of spoken about with some people and on other podcasts that I've been on, we just kind of asked the question, like, do you rest players for this game? Because I know it's Denmark, but it's not any... Ben, I see you shaking your head straight away, but hear me out. Like, do you rest any players whatsoever for this game? Just trying to play a bit of devil's advocate here, not give my opinion. But say, for example, Harry Kane goes out, scores some goals, but then plays the full 90 and then does his hamstring or something, and then we have to play Calvert-Lewin versus Italy. Like, to avoid those kind of scenarios or something, do you rest players for that game?
No. I think you rest players when the results sewn up. I think you see it a lot in like FA Cup football where you play an underdog and then you play a weakened side with sort of your strong team on the bench. Yeah. And you're bringing on, you know, you see Guardiola, who's had enough of like Mahrez and Sterling on the wings, that turns to De Bruyne and Aguero after 70 minutes because they're 2-1 down, you know. It's a case of, for me, I'd always say play your strongest side. If they've got it done by 60 minutes, you've got 5 subs, you can change half the team. Like, you can change that entire front line in the midfield too if necessary. So I would say, no, not a chance. Play your strongest side because yellow cards don't matter either after this game. So there's not that issue either where there was last game with obviously Phillips and Rice playing both on yellow cards. But you play your strongest team, you get the result done. If you're 3-0 up after 60 minutes, 4-0 up after 60 minutes, which I don't think it will be, but if you are, then you can start bringing off your Kanes, your Sterlings, your Declan Rices, you know, the people that are important to the side and irreplaceable.
Yeah. Well, you kind of mentioned there, Calvin Phillips, what a tournament he's had. Like, he's no one thought we should be anywhere near the starting 11. And some people are saying, why is James Ward-Prowse not going ahead of Calvin Phillips? But what a tournament he's had, Jack. Like, do you think he could be up there as one of England's most important players now?
After this tournament, yeah, definitely. He's had a tournament of a lifetime. He's been fantastic. You know, you can see why Southgate is, you know, has put so much faith into him, because he's seen that difference. Yeah, he's been brilliant, and you know, he should, you know, definitely England fans should not overlook, you know, his performance throughout this tournament. He's been brilliant. So yeah, definitely, yeah, he's been fantastic.
Do we owe Gareth Southgate an apology? Like this question's been asked quite a lot as well, but I've got to hold my hands out. I doubted him massively going into this tournament, and obviously nothing's happened yet. And I personally believe that where we are is where we should be, and like the people we've beaten, we should have beaten. But if like, do you think we owe Gareth Southgate an apology for doubting him in this sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's always been that, you know, criticism towards him, but even the way that even his style of play has got us to a semi-final, you know, 2 semi-finals in two international competitions. So yeah, I mean, despite if we go out tonight or if we get to the final but we lose, he's got us to either a potential final of the Euros or to the semi-finals. And I think, yeah, we haven't seen this before. No. You know, the England teams that we've watched before, you know, the 2018 World Cup and obviously Euro 2020, have always crashed out either in the group stages or the early knockout rounds. So yeah, it's brilliant to see what Gareth has done, and you know, people who have doubted him have sort of been proved wrong in a way. So yeah.
Ben, what have you got an opinion on that?
I'll hold off on my apologies for the moment. I think the bare minimum England should be getting is the semi-final of this tournament. Based on the side we have, based on the talent we have, I think that there's, you know, Southgate's done well in various regards. I think against Germany particularly, you know, the return to the back three and the way that we nullified Germany's threat was particularly impressive. But, you know, there are still games where you look at it and you go, well, that's Gareth Southgate, isn't it? Scotland, for example, is the one that springs to mind.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a lot of talent in that side that probably should be doing as well as it is doing. You know, there are people that you've got to thank, like Maguire, for making it back from a torn Achilles and playing it somehow 100% immediately. Unbelievable. But I think there's a lot of the feel-good factor around the England camp is down to Southgate, which I like. You know, he's a very, very good representative of the country. But as an actual football manager, I think the apologies can be held out. You know, we can hold out on the apologies just now in terms of how we think his style works and whether we think he's the right manager long term.
Yeah, I think you've got to give him credit for a lot of things, including I think the Harry Maguire decision, which a lot of people questioned. Like, oh, why is Harry Maguire going? Why are you taking an injured player? He's come in and Harry Maguire's been massive, and another player which has been Luke Shaw's been incredible this tournament too. So like, it's really good to see so many players stepping up, and hopefully they can do it another 2 times. What a game last night, by the way. We're going to talk about the game last night real brief. Spain versus Italy went to Alvaro Morata went from hero to villain very quickly. But Jack, what did you make of the game last night? It was 1-1 until 1-0 until like the 80th minute. Then Morata scored, and then went to extra time, went to penalties, and then Morata had his penalty saved.
It was the final you wanted to watch, wasn't it? It's a final. A semi-final that, you know, it's a semi-final you want. Obviously, it's not a semi-final that I particularly want tonight. I'd like to go through in 90 minutes. I don't want a penalty shootout. But when you're the neutral and watching a game like that, it's brilliant. I mean, both teams. I mean, I wasn't particularly impressed with Spain. You know, throughout this tournament until last night. They were excellent last night.
Yeah.
And against a highly rated Italian side who have been, in my eyes, you know, one of the best sides this tournament. Obviously, other than England, obviously. What a semi-final, and you know, poor Spain and poor Morata, as you said. I did call it that he'd missed one, but yeah, no, I think Italy deserve it. And if England get to the final, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough.
Very tough. Ben, what did you make of the game?
It was probably one of the best games, if not the best game of the tournament. You know, it was quite high intensity football from the off, and I think you sort of expected Italy to hold on and maybe nick a second on the break because they're so good at defending. Like they just the way that Chiellini launches himself in front of things and then celebrates like he's won the whole tournament after one block is just it's really good to see. Just because obviously you see it a bit with like Ruben Diaz now in the Premier League, but a lot of the time defenders aren't as passionate about defending as those two are. But I think Spain, as you said, played really well. Probably edged it on. Well, they obviously edged it on possession, but they probably edged it on chances as well. But they just weren't very. They've had the same problem all tournament. They haven't been particularly clinical, and that's always come back to bite them. I think last night I did as well. Dani Olmo was brilliant, but there's still misses that you just defy logic, and you sort of think, why have you done that? Why have you shot there? And it's just Spain, I think, are going to be really, really good in the next couple of years. They've got a lot of really, really good young players. Pau Torres, Ferran Torres, Pedri, obviously, who ran the show.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah, Dani Olmo's only 23. It's about finding that striking out through the middle that's actually going to be able to get them to glory. But I think I'd rather play Italy than Spain in the final if we get there. It's a massive if, but if we were to make it, I think I'd rather play Italy.
I think I'd rather play Spain, to be honest, the way the Italians have played this tournament. What a tournament, by the way. Some crazy drama, red cards, high scoring games. What have you made of the Euros, chat? It's been an incredible tournament so far, and there's still 2 big games left to play. But is there a particular moment that stands out for you?
It has to be England, Germany, really, doesn't it? I mean, it has to be. But yeah, I mean, this tournament has been, after a year of, quite a tough, year and a half for everyone. It's been brilliant. It's been, the best thing in years, you could say, because it literally has been. But no, yeah, it's been brilliant. I've loved every moment of it. Bring on the World Cup in December next year.
Bring on the World Cup, yeah. 100%. We're gonna quickly end the podcast with a couple of score predictions. We're gonna predict tonight's game, England versus Denmark. Jack, I'm gonna come straight to you. I want a goal prediction, and I want to win a prediction of what the score is going to be, and also who's going to score the goals.
Oh, it's tough. I think our defence has been impressive, so I think we'll keep.
Not a single goal conceded. Not a single goal conceded.
I know. So I think we're going to continue that. So I'm going to say 2-0 England, and I'm going to say both goals and set pieces. And I'm going to say Harry Kane and Maguire.
Okay. Ben, what are you going for?
I'm going to go for 3-0 England. Just because I think 2-0 is pretty fair, but I think we pushed the boat out a bit. Raheem Sterling obviously is going to score. He can't stop scoring at Wembley. I think John Stones will probably nod on him from a set piece. I think Maguire's had his turn. It's Stones' turn now. And then I think Harry Kane will probably bag on late on, sort of the typical Harry Kane goal from about 8 yards out for England, where everyone else has to put it in.
I'm going to go for 2-1. I think we might get a little scare. I think we might get a little scare with like an early goal or something. I'm going to say 2-1, and I think Sterling might get one again. What a tournament he's having, by the way. Boy from Brent. Sterling will get one, and I'm going to tip Saka to get one as well. So
Saka to score the winner, please.
Oh, Saka to score the winner. Imagine the scenes if Saka scored like the winner in the final or something. But if England score normally, I'll celebrate like yes. But then if Saka scores or like gets an assist or does a run, mate, I'm off my seat. I'm stood on my chair. Well, cheers for listening, guys. The countdown to kickoff, it's coming up now. We've gone for an England win. We've all predicted an England win. We don't have Josh here, so we didn't have to predict a draw. So fingers crossed, and then we'll hopefully be back with another episode to talk about the final. I mean, fingers crossed England get there. Don't want to jinx it too soon. But cheers for listening, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, Tweet us at ArsenalVavel1. All your footballing opinions on Arsenal transfers. Is Hossam Aouar, would he be a dream signing? Who would you like in that midfield role? And we will be back with another episode soon. Cheers, guys.
Find more great shows or join the team at sport-social.co.uk.